We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order at this time. Our clerk will read the roll.
Boys.
Here.
Connor. Davis. DeShazier.
Present.
Fusco. Garrett. Hannah.
Aye.
Kamer. Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick. Amobian.
Here.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present except for Councilman Kamer.
Thank you. For those who voluntarily wish to do so, will you please stand at this time? I'm going to ask Councilwoman Jan Davis if she will introduce who is praying for us immediately following our prayer. I'm going to ask if Councilwoman Connor will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Apostolette will be leading us in prayer, and she's and excuse me if I get this wrong, Pastor Bishop of No Fear But God Fellowship Assembly Church Ministries and International Proverbial Miracle Power
Evangelistic and Missionary Ministry.
Okay, thank you.
If you're led to do so, if you would like to join me, you can join the hand with the person next to you or the shoulder so we can go into agreement this evening. Speak to our hearts, Holy Spirit. Give us a word that will bring new life. On the wings of the morning, the dark clouds will fade away. Just speak to our hearts. Speak to our hearts, Holy Spirit. Give us the words that will encourage us when our hearts are in despair, how you love us and you just care for us, and just speak to our hearts. Thank you for another day that we have seen in this land and in this place. And thank you for keeping us and providing for us and making a way for us in the wilderness and supplying us our water in our dry places, and just speak through us and to us this evening. Thank you for your grace and your mercy, and meet every need in this room and every need that we don't even know about. Just meet the need right now in the name of Jesus Christ. Let every home as they leave this place be found well upon their return, and everyone who's homeless, please, God, speak and move on their behalf. In the name of Jesus Christ, who is the author and the finisher of our faith, please speak and move right now. And it is so. Thank you, Jesus.
Amen. Amen.
And a woman.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And before we move into our regular scheduled agenda, we do have some special guests here with us that I would like to introduce. We have the Summit Lake Ambassadors. If you guys would all please stand for me. I got an opportunity. To spend some time with these young people, and I was so impressed. And if they're leaders, Marcus Salisbury and Miss Grace Hudson, if you will come forward to the podium. These young people are doing some phenomenal things in Summit Lake. And so earlier this week, I got an opportunity to see what they've been working on over the summer. And they have been busy building benches around Summit Lake, building flower pots, and making sure that the neighborhood is cleaned. And one of the things that I told them, around this horseshoe, we've been investing a lot of money into Summit Lake. And it is good to know that we have ambassadors in these young people who are protecting those investments. And so I just want an opportunity for them to come down. Marcus, if you want to introduce our young people and kind of share just some of the things that they've been doing a phenomenal job. No, it's not.
Okay, when I say your name, raise your hand. Javion Finney, Matthew Salisbury, Jay Brown, Donovan King, Jasmine Faulkner, Saviana Finney, and Jamonte Curley. George Eby is one of our team leads, and Grace Hudson is another team lead. And we also have Nancy Rice, who's not present, is also one of our team leads. And myself, Marcus Salisbury, and the objective for the kids are to teach them skills in this age where they are now, let them understand what work really means. Our goal with the kids is not just only teaching them work in their community, but also be a lifeline to help them through once they get ready to graduate high school. They have learned mixing concrete. They have learned how to do carpentry work. So it's a great program for the kids, and also it teaches them leadership skills with the people in the neighborhood and the youth up under them.
Thank you. And I think also, Councilwoman Boyce, your son is a part of the Summit Lake Ambassadors, if you want to say something.
Yes, he is. I'm Drew's mom, for those of you who don't know me. My son Drew, it's his first year in the program, and I am just delighted to see him. And this is the important thing. These kids are taking care of their own space.
Yes.
And I think we lose sight of that. We see so many people throwing trash out their car window and pulling in a driveway around the corner. These kids are examples to the rest of the community about how to take care of your own space. And I just applaud that. Thank you, guys. It's been great to know you.
All right, so again, we want to thank you for all that you guys do. You guys are a great example. We're so proud of you. And again, we talked about the fact they've been building benches, so for years to come, they can go through the park and point to say, I built this, right? So they are taking care of and investing back in their neighborhoods, and so we thank you guys. Thank you. And also to the leaders, thank you too for giving of your time. And you guys are dismissed. You don't have to stay during our long, boring meeting, but we wanted to acknowledge you. Council, we're going to move into our agenda. The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The motion to approve the minutes passes 11-0.
At this time, we will move to our public comment period. All those who have signed up to participate, I'm going to ask that you please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in by our clerk.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to begin with Brian Lucy.
Good evening, Madam President, council members. I'm Brian Lucy, and I'm the president of the Fraternal Order of Police, Akron Lodge 7, and I'm here tonight to speak against the charter amendment. The words robust and diverse have been thrown around a lot lately surrounding this charter amendment. Also the phrase, cast the widest net possible. However, this administration chose to extend a promotional list rather than offer a new exam, delaying a robust and diverse candidate pool of sergeants currently employed by the city an opportunity to participate in a promotional process to the rank of lieutenant. That hasn't been talked about much, though, because this has nothing to do with public safety and everything to do with politics. Let's not forget that the city of Akron has hired 2 external police chiefs, one as recent as 2 years ago. Needless to say, neither has worked out in the long run. That chief from 2 years ago knew nothing about the city other than what he could find on Google. This department needs leaders that have come through the ranks, done the job, built the relationships, not only in the department, but in the community. It will make the city stronger. Great leaders develop their mentors into their replacements, and Akron should be no different. It takes years to groom the right individual to be a leader of an organization and build relationships within the community. An internal candidate has the advantage in institutional knowledge and thorough understanding of the culture, whether good or bad. That leader can either enhance the organizational culture or make the necessary changes. Police chiefs and mayors must constantly strive to make their departments better, to include recruitment, retention, training, community engagement, and best police practices. The ultimate goal is to develop good officers through mentor programs such as our Explorers program and professional development plans. Also, provide incentives to retain these officers once they're in the fold. Great leaders make their officers feel wanted, important, and proud to be part of that organization. This charter amendment does the exact opposite. One of the committee members even stated the morale of officers will suffer if this is passed. We continue to lose officers like never before, and this mayor and his cabinet have done nothing to address the retention now almost 8 months. But they have proposed a buyout program for a deputy chief, although I'm not really sure why, and now they want to change the promotional process. Perhaps they should address the staffing and retention problem. This administration has had no problem kicking that can down the road. Akron Police Department has become a training ground for surrounding departments. These other departments are recruiting Akron police officers through their own lateral transfer programs. These departments recognize the quality officers they are stealing from our city. If a department the size of Akron must go outside to find a chief, then current leaders have failed. They've failed to develop, mentor, and provide passion in the potential leaders of an organization, and shame on them for this failure. Unfortunately, it appears that there is a great deal of momentum to pass this legislation, even though in the long run, I doubt it will have any positive effect on the department. The city will continue to get individuals who see this as a stepping stone for bigger and better things, or just the opposite, a last stop before retirement. In closing, I'm asking each of you to vote no on this ordinance. Take time and get it right rather than rush it and get it wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize if I mispronounced the name. Is it Kayla? Kale, thank you. I apologize.
Greetings, esteemed members of City Council. By now, I'm sure you're all well aware of the ongoing discussions of the SUMA healthcare system sale to a private equity firm. SUMA employs roughly 8,000 people across the city, and especially more so in the county. It is making it not only a major healthcare provider for many Akronites, including myself, but also a major employer as well. Of the hospital networks that were purchased by a private equity firm in 2023, over 20% have filed for bankruptcy and sold for pennies at each community's expense. Are we to be the same? Me and my loved ones received a majority of our care from SUMA, and if that were to become too expensive or simply non-existent, we would be forced to travel hours away to a comparable facility with providers we barely know and possibly discriminatory practices. This has been the case with many hospital networks that were brought up by private equity firms. Why are we to believe that this is any different? I urge you all to try every avenue at your disposal to prevent this sale. You can bring community members and experts to the table to see what alternatives there are, what the community wants or needs. Just this is a lifeline, both literally and figuratively, as I've met many friends at the Pride Clinic in SUMA. And if I were to lose that, it's very hard for me to drive anywhere, especially hours away to somewhere like Columbus, just to receive adequate care on a comparable level. Thank you.
Thank you. Dominique Mingo?
Hey everybody, you can call me Chief Mingo. I am Chief of the Mingo Indians, the one you recently seen politically assassinated in Akron Beacon Journal's paper. I spoke on this recently with City Council and gave them the accurate information of facts that they needed. No one but Councilman Hanna actually even remembered my face or acknowledged me as an original inhabitant here. And what I asked for City Council was to make a move. You guys are responsible for codes, rules, and ordinance passed here. I am tired of you hearing that, hey, it's only so much we can do. When I constantly hear other councilmen speaking on big business, you suspend the rules for them. You approve their things immediately as an emergency big business. As for last week, it was Amazon, a known horrible place to work in. Don't get me wrong, it provides jobs, but often unsafe, and often our people are there. So that's all I want to say. I'm going to start teaching my people about recall. If we cannot have you sitting in our body politics, the inhabitants' body politic, acting as our representatives, going to city council, not pushing forth what we ask for, we are going to recall you from these seats. And we are going to start teaching people that, because we need people in here willing to fight for us against anybody. And as far as I also want to address in my last 30 minutes, I'm glad y'all didn't. I'm glad I seen the new amendment charter for Akron Police Department. I want to say a few things. The last time I seen this guy, he made a chuckle about, you need us to protect you from pointing guns in your windows. Mind you, it was a toy gun, and it was my nephew who was shot in the hand in a constitutional carry state, whether you thought he was adult or not. I want to shout out, if we are going to do anything that requires in-house picking of people, talk to your people. We know who they are. Sergeant Bowman, great officer. Officer Getz, G-E-T-Z, made an announcement over the radio to say a woman who was standing up for her rights and the rights of children whom they harassed, saying they were searching for a crime that wasn't being committed. After we found out at the end, he said, hey, if she calls in, let me know so we can arrest her. You know, everybody else copied back. But Sergeant Bowman, knowing who I was in the area I was in, he came and made sure I was untouched. So if we need outside people, go get them, because our inside is rotten, including you.
Thank you, Ms. Mingo, for sharing. Acacia Reynolds.
Hello, Council, Madam President. I have a lot to go over. I'm not sure I'll get it all in, but here goes. First and foremost, as I have informed many of you, the City of Akron has once again stolen thousands of dollars worth of my property under the guise of nuisance compliance. This outright theft of citizens who can't afford to replace these items for years is disgusting. And the fact that I came before this body a year ago and told you that this was happening, and it happened again, shows harassment, which is even further disgusting. Our wonderful Akron Police Department is there to protect the city's employees, who will act like cowboys with complete disregard for the law, but the police are there to make sure that us citizens who are having our rights trampled don't become violent when we have our rights trampled. I was outright told by a city employee that when I said that they were violating my constitutional rights protected by the Supreme Court of the United States of America, I was flat out told that those rules don't apply to them. Now, I'm sorry. I thought I lived in America where the Supreme Court rules apply to everybody. Needless to say, I'm not very happy with the nuisance compliance. They need reined in. Their Wild West cowboys need to be fired. I also, with my last minute, would like to speak about the sale of Summa. I moved from an area whose public hospital was sold to a private organization. And we watched it get whittled away from the wonderful hospital that it was to nickel and diming everything. It was known as a wonderful place for our elderly to go and get exceptional care. It became known as a one-stop shop for ER. The first thing they got rid of, maternity ward. My niece was one of the last babies born in the Pottstown Hospital. Before there were no other babies born there. People have to go at least 45 minutes to an hour away just to have a baby. And some babies can come a little faster than that. Now, I ask you, What's next? Please disapprove the sale. Put up roadblock after roadblock. Thank you.
Thank you, Acacia, and hopefully afterwards, maybe we can have someone that can talk to you about those issues, okay? Carl Buck. Is Carl Buck here with us? Okay. If not, that concludes our public comment period. Before you is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The consent agenda passes 11-0.
We'll now move to old business rules. Councilman McKittrick.
The committee's report is adverse report, Madam President.
Thank you. The committee's report is adverse. Are there any comments at this time? Councilwoman Boyce.
Thank you. I have to say, this has been a difficult piece of legislation for me. In the spirit of letting voters decide, I believe I'm voting against this adverse report. I respect the mayor for elevating the two chief positions to the cabinet level. There are many folks, both on the current force and not on the force, that are in support of that. But after talking to many of them, I am very concerned that there are folks within the Akron Police Department that are not getting the opportunity to be trained on things that would place them in a good position to, if they were up against an external chief candidate, to be able to compete with them, either due to lack of funds for training or lack of coverage for them to be able to receive that training. And I'm looking at this as it can't be an either or; it has to be an and both. And I would just strongly encourage, if this piece of legislation, if this ballot amendment were to go before the people, that we would consider at the same time figuring out a way to put our current police officers and our current fire department, who put their lives at risk every day, that have put years and years into their jobs, who know this community well, to be able to compete with folks from outside the community, from some of these suburban organizations that have the opportunity to get this type of training. They deserve the opportunity to have the best opportunity to become a police chief here. I think the years and years of knowledge and community engagement that they have, we can't discount that. And also another part of this that I am not sure that I'm in favor of is, the also doing the same outside search for the deputy chiefs. I really think by offering internal candidates the current ability to work their way through the system to those positions would be a great start to showing a good faith effort to be wanting to do both of these things, to support them as well as offer different options in the event that there isn't a qualified candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Amobian. Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you, Madam President.
If you could please stand too.
Sure.
Thank you. Just our rules. Thank you.
I am standing now. I get that a lot. I get that a lot. Okay. As I said this afternoon, I know the ordinance speaks of the ability to hire internal as well as external, but the fact that this piece of legislation is before us, to me, says that come the next time, most likely we'll go external. And that upsets me because I just think it's just very disrespectful to our safety forces when we, are shaking the bushes out there for recruits, let alone, we want all these classes to be as diverse as possible, and I'm fully supportive of that. But to have these men and women come on board to protect us, to put their lives on the line, and then, throughout the years they're taking training classes and passing tests to get promoted, but then to know that there could be a stopping point where, thank you for your service, but we think this person from, Dallas or whatever is better. It doesn't sit well with me. So we appreciate everything that they do, and I believe that they should all have the opportunity to lead their community if they so choose to, take on that position. I know one of the other committees said something about if this doesn't pass, we could be 15 years from diversity, something like that. And, we have a new fire chief, a new police chief that will be there for many years. And so I don't think it's really 15 years, but kind of like this is also a shout out to Pastor Greg Harrison, who said that diversity starts, at these classes, let's just say. And, if there's something wrong with the system, big if, then maybe we can correct that in the years to come. But again, we just need, I think, a local person, an Akron person, to lead our safety forces, and that's why I'm in support of the adverse report. And again, thank you to our Akron Fire Department and Police Department for what they do.
Thank you. Councilwoman Amobian?
I want to make it real clear that voting against this adverse report is nothing against our current police or firefighters. I think they serve us well. My concern is, I think we're being short-sighted if we're saying that we're too afraid to have our well-trained, well-respected safety forces to compare against external candidates. What we're saying is that we really don't believe that they will match up. All I'm saying is that whenever we are considering hiring at the top level of any organization, open it up. Let anyone that is qualified apply. That doesn't mean that an internal candidate won't get it. It just means that you're opening the field wider to compare against other candidates. And that's all we're saying. And we know from years and years of experience by many of the firefighters in this city, there have been some areas that we have definitely have to work on, and those are the kinds of things we've been talking about. Making sure that there are opportunities for all those individuals who are qualified to progress, get more training, and be considered. If you change the rules for one group, you should change the rules for all of them. And that hasn't happened in the past, in the recent past. And that's why we have run into problems where we haven't had a diverse group of candidates for these positions. I support the amendment. I am opposed to this adverse policy recommendation that you're proposing today, because I believe that the citizens of Akron should have the opportunity to vote on whether or not we should open the candidate pool up. And that's all we're saying. Give the citizens an opportunity to vote on whether or not we want to consider any and everybody that is qualified to serve in those positions. And there's a job description that comes along with that. So with that, I'll be voting against this adverse policy report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Garrett?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm voting against this adverse report. Madam President, when you take a look at the diversity in our police force, you have 0 deputy chiefs that are black. You have 1 captain that is black. But most of the gun violence in our city come from young black men. Who are there to look up to? When you're talking about 15 years, my brother Chief Henderson's not going to be here for 15 years, and I don't think Mr. Harding's going to be here for 15 years, Madam President. The time is now. It was intentionally excluding a lot of black folks from being in the top ranks and we have to do something to correct that at some point in time. And this amendment would help do that. Now, I want everyone to know, I think there's so much more that could be done, but at some point in time, we have to start somewhere. And I think this amendment does that. And I applaud the administration, and I applaud Mayor Shamus for bringing this out. But we must do something, because sitting around doing nothing, a lot of folks then will talk about this DEI hire, this diversity, equity, and inclusion piece. But when we talk about the President of the United States and we look at Vice President Kamala Harris, and she picks her running mate, knows it's going to be a white male. But we don't say that's a DEI hire. That's strategy. We have to do strategy here as well. We have to pick somebody in our ranks to look like the folks who are doing these crimes. And these young black kids need to see somebody that looks like them at the top. We talk about the jewelry that they wear. But imagine them walking around seeing a deputy chief jewelry of a black deputy chief in their neighborhood. I think it's so important. That visual is so important. So once again, I applaud the administration on what you guys are trying to do. And I'm voting adversely. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I failed to do this afternoon, but I want to thank everyone who served on the committee. I know that it was quite a bit of work involved with it, and heard some of the conversation, heard about some of the conversation that occurred during that time, so really need to thank them. Right now, it's probably, in recent memory at least, one of the most volatile times probably to be a police officer, I'm guessing. In terms of with the rise of shootings in not only Akron but across the country. I'm willing to say that part of that probably is because we in Akron and even across the country wasn't more intentional years ago in terms of promoting more diverse classes, recruiting. We have spent probably millions of dollars recruiting people, going into neighborhoods, recruiting. We have voted on those budgets, but we haven't done it right. And I think what we need to do is spend more time in terms of studying ways to get it right, because I don't believe that we have. And that's why I'm going to be voting in favor of the adverse report. I think developing a path with more intention to create diversity and working together, all communities, including police, including FOP, including 330, including officers. I think that's where we need to go and create a strategy and a plan moving forward. I don't know if this is the best one right now in this moment, so that's why I'm going to be supporting the adverse report. But more than willing, as I know many of us are here, to continue the work on this.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time? I do want to say that I am in favor of a charter amendment. I do believe there's a lot of change that needs to happen in the city of Akron, but I'm also in favor of making sure that we get it right and that we take our time. It seems like deja vu because with issue 10, I asked the same thing, let's take our time, let's get it right, because it was oversold. A lot of things that we said issue 10 could do, it cannot do. It is not doing. Those issues need to be fixed, but yet they have not yet been addressed. And so sometimes I just say, we can't just change things for the sake of changing things, but we need to make sure that we're really fixing the problem. You want diversity at the top, we all do, but the reality of it is if you don't have anyone in the pipeline to even get to the top, that's the problem. We got to focus on starting at the bottom. We got to focus on recruitment and making sure that we go out and we're intentional about recruiting Black officers and providing them with the supports and everything that they need to make it through the process. That's another thing we're not talking about. Why is it that African Americans aren't making it through the process? Why are they not making it through the background checks? There's a lot of issues and things that we need to talk about. And so that's why I have asked, and I've asked Mayor Malik, let's take a pause. Let's not piecemeal reform. If we're serious about it, let's take some time. Let's expand our committee. Less of us elected officials and more community, so that come next November 2025, we can really present something to the community that's going to bring about real change. Not something that's going to give false hope. Not something that's going to be oversold and we can't deliver on. And so again, I say, I am in favor for a charter amendment, but I think we need to take our time, and I think we need to do it right. And the residents of Akron, they deserve just that. And that is why I will be voting no on this adverse report, but I am committed to doing all that I can to make sure that the conversation continues, that we do not just look at this one section, but we do a full review of the charter, and we bring forth some real positive change in 2025. Any other comments at this time? Councilwoman Omobian?
I just want to make sure that people understand, if you vote yes, you're voting against the charter amendment. If you vote no, you are supporting the charter amendment.
Thank you. Any other
That
comments?
is correct, isn't it? Is there a
I'm
lawyer
sorry.
in the room?
I'm sorry, what did you ask, Councilwoman Omobian?
Some people are speaking as if they are against.
We're gonna make it clear, so.
I just want to make
Yep.
sure that was correct, I said.
Yes. Any other comments before we move to the vote? So at this time, the committee has made a report for an adverse report. So if you are in favor of the adverse report, I want you to signify by saying aye if you are in favor, okay? So all in favor of an adverse report, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those who oppose?
Nay.
Nay. And so at this time, we're going to do a roll call, okay?
Boys,
Nay.
Connor, Davis, DeShazier,
Aye.
Fusco, Garrett,
Nay.
Hannah,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick, Omobian,
Nay.
Somerville.
Aye.
The motion for an adverse report passes 7-4.
Okay, thank you. We're going to now move to Planning and Economic Development. Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you. Time on items 1 through and including 9. Item number 10 was withdrawn by the petitioner. Item 11 is that petition, so we're requesting to file that item as well. And time on the balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Time will be granted. Public Service, Councilman McKittrick.
File items, please.
Okay, these items will be filed. That concludes our old business. We'll now move into new legislation.
Item 0, offered by Lombardo, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement or agreements with the House of the Lord in furtherance of the 2024 Fugitive Safe Surrender and Community Violence Prevention Programming and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo,
The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. This contract with the House of the Lord will implement a fugitive safe surrender program, a nonviolent way to have people surrender. And it's been successful many years ago. It doesn't happen every year, but it's time to bring it back, and we're asking for its passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Abstentions,
And we have one abstention.
yeah.
Councilwoman Amobian.
This ordinance passes 10-0 with one abstention. Item number 1, offered by Lombardo, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept and expend grant funding from the Akron Community Foundation to fund the position of public engagement strategist, to enter into related special service agreements, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. These funds are provided by the Akron Community Foundation, and this will allow the administration to hire a public engagement strategist.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 2, offered by Lombardo, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept and expend grant funding from the Akron Development Corporation to fund the position of data transparency strategist, to enter into related special service agreements, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo.
The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, as just said by our clerk, Akron Development Corporation, again, is granting us funds to hire a data transparency strategist, and we're asking for its passage tonight.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 3, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute the Summit County Intergovernmental Memorandum of Understanding for Job Creation and Retention and Tax Revenue Sharing, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you. The report of the committee is favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, this is an intergovernmental memorandum of understanding between many of the towns, practically every town in Summit County, in terms of tax sharing whenever it comes to jobs. And it discourages poaching. The thing about jobs is they don't know borders. And we need to be looking at this from a regional standpoint. Our neighbors, whenever they go out and create 200-300 jobs, many of those people live in Akron. That's why we've seen the expansion of the Metro bus and the service, because many folks do live in Akron. And whenever we get jobs here, many of those folks, they come from beyond our borders. So this here is meant to, I believe, look at things from a more regional standpoint. This has been in existence, and we typically renew this, I understand, every year. So it's been around for about 10 or 12, 15 years. And so I recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 4, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Xylem Census FlexNet for the automated meter reading system portion of the meter update project, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman McKittrick.
The committee's report is favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This will allow for a maintenance contract for our new meter system. They are about halfway through now and expect to be finished next year, but this will be maintenance for software, et cetera, to be able to uphold that they work properly. And we're asking for passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 5, offered by Kamer. Ordinance determining to proceed with and levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets in the city between certain termini by providing street cleaning services and street lighting, approving the report of the Assessment Equalization Board and declaring an emergency.
Councilman McKittrick?
The committee's report is favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
There were some folks that came before the assessment board, and they have resolved everything that's come through there, and we are moving forward for assessments and asking for passage.
Thank you. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 6, offered by Kamer. Ordinance determining to proceed with and levying special assessments for the improvement and maintenance of the off-street parking facilities in the Kenmore Business District and the Canton Road Business District and declaring an emergency.
Councilman McKittrick?
The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Same with as the last one, and these are parking areas in the business district in both of these areas, and we're asking for passage to be able to do the assessments.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 7, offered by McKittrick. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids for the purchase of vehicles for the fire division and declaring an emergency.
Councilman McKittrick?
The committee's report's favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Most of the time when the fire department's purchasing vehicles, they go through a bid process. We have 2 specialized vehicles that they're looking to replace that have over 100,000 miles, and it's starting to get costly on the maintenance on these vehicles. So many times they find them in at a car dealership to be able to purchase, but if they have to go through the bid process, many times they lose these vehicles. So they're not trying to circumvent the bidding process. They just want to be able to obtain these vehicles while they're available without drawing it out any further. And we're asking for passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Number 8 is offered by President Somerville. Resolution appointing Bruce Bolden to fill the vacancy in the Akron City Council Ward 8 position until a new Ward 8 representative can be elected at the next regularly scheduled primary and general elections at which all electors of the city are eligible to vote, and declaring an emergency.
Okay. Thank you so much. The screening committee has recommended Bruce Bolden. At this time, may I have a motion to nominate Bruce Bolden as Ward 8 representative? We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, we're going to open up the floor. Are there any other nominations? Do we have a motion to close nominations? Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
At this time, we are going to pass out ballots. Our clerk is going to do that. And we are going to appoint tellers. Do we need 2? We need 3. So I'm going to ask if Councilwoman Boyes will help us. No. Councilwoman Davis, if you will assist as a teller, we'll go right down the line. Councilman Hanna and Councilman Lombardo. Thank you. So in accordance with open record law and the opinion of the Attorney General, secret ballots are prohibited, just so that you know what's going on. Therefore, the vote will be by ballot. However, your name is placed on the ballot. So each ballot has the councilperson's name on it. At this time, we're going to ask our clerk to announce the results.
Madam President, Bruce Bolden received 11 votes.
Okay, thank you. And clerk, will you read in our resolution?
Resolution appointing Bruce Bolden to fill the vacancy in the Akron City Council Ward 8 position until a new Ward 8 representative can be elected at the next regularly scheduled primary and general elections at which all electors of the city are eligible to vote, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask if we can please have a motion to suspend the rules.
Make that motion to suspend the rules.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, we are going to ask if Councilman Bruce Bolden will come to the front so that you may be sworn in. And we have the Honorable Judge Connie Hightower, who will swear you in this evening, okay? You want to have your wife come up? We're ready.
All right. Raise your right hand and then repeat after me. I, Bruce Bolden, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter of the City of Akron,
the Charter of the City of Akron,
and all of the laws,
and all of the laws,
statutes, ordinances, and resolutions enacted thereunder, and that I will honestly, impartially, and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been elected,
to which I have been elected,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and understanding,
and understanding.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Miss Bolden, don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. So we do have a tradition, so we want you to do the honors, Mrs. Bolden, of pinning your husband. Yeah, be gentle.
That's not a good thing. Don't give her any Sharpie. Ouch.
We're gonna get a snap a photo, so just like you're, yeah. That's wonderful. And so, Councilman, you can take your seat right there next to Councilman Garrett. And we would love to hear from you. You can give us some remarks.
Thank you. I'm honored, and it's a privilege to have this opportunity to represent Ward 8, serve this body that I once did before. I'm excited at the opportunities ahead to represent, to continue the representation that we've had in Ward 8. We've had excellent representation for years and years, and I'm looking forward to trying to continue that with my tenure here. I've talked with a number of you. I've served in this committee. It's been a long time since I've been serving on council. Actually, I told Councilman Garrett I used to sit right there back in the 90s when I represented Ward 1. But this is about representing the area that I live, and my wife and I moved into the house that she grew up in and raised her kids. And I look forward to representing all neighborhoods and being of Ward 8, of all people in Ward 8, being accessible and being their champion here in this body, and putting Ward 8 first and the city together to help this city to grow and to prosper and be a safe place to raise our families, our kids, to create good jobs and keep us safe. I thank you again. I am really excited at this opportunity and will do my best to represent everyone in Ward 8. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? So at this time, that concludes our new legislation. We're going to move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman McKittrick.
2 p.m.
Public Safety, Councilman McKittrick.
2:15.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Lombardo.
3 p.m.
Parks and Recreation, Councilwoman Connor. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco. Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilman McKittrick.
2 p.m.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
2:30.
Is there anything else coming before council at this time? Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. I, last week, with the full agenda, failed to admit this, or to say this. I meant to compliment, as we all know, we're so proud of our employees. And oftentimes, there's things that are done that really kind of, they don't make the paper, they don't make the media, this and that. They're unsung heroes, if you will. And we know we have so much talent here. We're so proud of everyone. But about 10 days ago, on the 19th of July, we all, not only the city of Akron, but all over, I think that the eastern seaboard or what have you, experienced the crowd strike incident. And our folks rose to the occasion, practically without a hiccup whatsoever. And I think we need to applaud their efforts. Mr. Wheeler, the team captain, if you will, is here. And I wanted to call out the names of the individuals who worked on ensuring that we stayed afloat during that troubling time. Engelbert Gall, Bill Fatica. We know Bill, he fixes our phones whenever we break them. Brandon Mickle, Also, Sergeant David Rouse kept us going for 911 specifically. And also wanted to recognize Jason Burke and Jeffrey Van Natten, kept our water and sewer infrastructure going. So with that, I just want to thank them. Let's give them a hand. But oftentimes, like I said, our employees, they do such great things, and they keep us afloat during troubling times. And so perhaps more and more, we do need to recognize them. And so just wanted to recognize work done well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman McKittrick?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to start by thanking my colleagues on council who sat on this committee to choose a replacement for Ward 8. We had 20 wonderful, very qualified candidates to go over. It was a daunting task. I truly appreciate that. I also wanted to thank the PCs and the community representatives who also put on a candidate forum per se and provided us with some good insight and some data from that helped the committee make this decision. And furthermore, I'd like to say thanks to Councilman Garrett. I wasn't able to run my ward meeting, but he did an outstanding job. I'm greatly appreciative, and I got a lot of compliments on the job that you did. So I greatly appreciate it. Just don't make me look too bad the next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to stand and say I'm 7 months into this job. You know, when I first started, I was scared to death. Okay, I'll be perfectly honest. But I really, really first enjoy my colleagues. We may not agree all the time, but I can reach out to any of them and, hear their thinking. I'll call Jeff or I'll call Margot or somebody or Brad. What is your thinking, okay? They never get angry if I'm not on their side, if you will. They just tell me what their thinking is, and it allows me to come to my own decision, okay, and be comfortable with that. But this has been great. I'm starting to like this job, okay? So I might be here until I'm 90. No, I won't, okay? But I just want to say thank you to each one of you. You have all been great. Mr. Lash, Mr. Luddle, they've been great. Even our community liaisons, Captain Aaron Brown and those guys, and can't forget about Chief Henderson over there. He's been great. So I just, I'm just excited because I think the dynamics on the council are great at this point. And I think we're gonna get a lot accomplished, okay? And it's okay to disagree. I'm about building relationships so we can move the city forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Davis. Councilwoman Connor?
Since council's not meeting next week, I just want to put a little plug in. Tuesday, August 6th, Night Out Against Crime. There is one event in each of the 10 wards, so please take the opportunity for you, your friends, your families, your neighbors to come out, engage with our safety forces, build those relationships that we talk about all the time. We'll look forward to seeing you, and if you're not sure, come on up to Goodyear Heights. We'll take care of you. Thanks.
Thank you. I also kind of just want to piggyback a little bit on what Councilman McKittrick said. Again, I do want to thank all the screening committee. Most importantly, I want to thank all the Ward 8 residents who stepped up to fill the vacancy of Ward 8. I want to thank you. I want to thank Councilwoman Amobian, who was our facilitator for our town hall conversation at Firestone High School, who did an absolutely amazing job. Again, it was that conversation that really set the foundation so that we could be really clear in terms of what Ward 8 wanted. So again, thank you so much. If there's nothing else coming before council, we will be on recess. We will still be working. Our phones will be working and answering emails and all that good stuff. We will just not be meeting here Mondays at 7 o'clock. We will be back in session Monday, September 9th. So there's nothing else coming before this body at this time. Is there a motion for adjournment? No objections? Meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.